had trained warriors for 200 years. He had seen every species in the galaxy step onto his training grounds. He had watched the massive charge like living tanks. He had studied the graceful as they danced through combat with their minds guiding every move. He had shaped thousands of soldiers into perfect fighting machines. Nothing surprised him anymore. Nothing impressed him. He had seen it all. So when the Academy told him that a human would join his next class, he felt nothing but mild annoyance. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only been discovered 15 years ago on their small blue planet at the edge of known space. They were weak creatures. They had no claws, no armor, no venom. They could not see in the dark. They could not hear sounds beyond a narrow range. Their bodies were soft and broke easily. Did not understand why the Academy had accepted one of them. The day the human arrived, stood in the main hall with his 4 arms crossed over his chest. His scales were dark green, and his yellow eyes watched the door with impatience. Around him stood the other new students, 3 warriors, each standing 8 feet tall with muscles like stone. 2, their silver skin glowing softly as their telepathic minds touched the edges of everyone nearby. 1, covered in thick fur and carrying natural blades on each arm. The door opened, expected something. He was not sure what. Perhaps a soldier in heavy armor to make up for human weakness. Perhaps a large human, one of their stronger specimens. Instead, a small figure walked in. She was shorter than everyone in the room. Her skin was a soft brown color, and her black hair was pulled back from her face. She wore simple clothes, nothing special. She carried no weapons that could see. She looked around the room with dark eyes that seemed calm, almost peaceful. This was the human warrior Earth had sent, this small, soft creature named. She walked to and stopped. Then she did something strange. She bent her body forward in a bow, lowering her head to him. When she rose, she spoke in a quiet voice. "Thank you for accepting me, Instructor. I will work hard to learn from you." Behind her, one of them laughed. The sound was deep and rumbling. They exchanged looks that carried silent thoughts. Even the seemed amused, his fur rippling with what might have been a chuckle. Felt a flicker of pity for the creature. She would not last long here. The training was hard. Students had died before. This human would wash out within days, maybe weeks if she was lucky. "You will train with the basic group," told her. His voice was flat. He did not wish to be cruel, but he also did not wish to give her false hope. "Do your best." Nodded, "I will." The orientation began. Explained the rules of the Academy. He showed the students the training grounds, the simulation chambers, the medical bay where broken bodies were repaired. He spoke of the history of the Academy, of the great warriors who had graduated and gone on to protect the galaxy. At the end of the tour, he brought them back to the main training hall. It was time for a demonstration. "Combat is about more than strength," said. He walked to the center of the hall. "It is about movement, timing, and understanding your enemy." He performed a basic combat sequence. His 4 arms moved in perfect patterns, blocking invisible attacks, striking at invisible targets. It was a simple routine, one that all students learned in their first week. When he finished, he looked at the class. Would anyone like to try? The shuffled their feet. The looked away. The examined his claws. No one wanted to embarrass themselves on the first day. Then a small voice spoke. "May I try, Instructor?" Turned, the human had stepped forward. Her face showed no fear, no hesitation. She simply waited for his answer. "Very well," said. He stepped aside. Walked to the center of the hall. She stood still for a moment, her eyes closed. Then she began to move. Her body flowed through the sequence. She had only seen it once, but her movements were precise. Her arms cut through the air exactly as had. Her feet stepped in the same patterns. She did not have 4 arms, so she adapted, using her 2 arms in ways that covered the same angles. When she finished, she was not even breathing hard. The room was silent. Then spoke again. "Instructor, may I suggest something?" She did not wait for an answer. If you shift your weight earlier in the third movement, you can reduce energy use by about 12%. It would help in longer fights. Stared at her. In 200 years, no student had ever corrected his technique on their first day. In 200 years, no student had ever analyzed his movements closely enough to find an improvement. They had stopped laughing. They were watching with new interest. The spur had gone flat with surprise. Looked at the small human standing in the center of his training hall. She was not boasting. She was not trying to show off. She had simply seen something and shared it as if it was the most natural thing in the world. For the first time in many years, felt something he had almost forgotten. It was small, just a tiny spark in his chest. He was not sure if it was curiosity or concern. But he knew one thing. He had been wrong about humans. This was going to be interesting. The days passed and watched the human closely. He told himself it was professional interest. He told himself he was simply doing his job as an instructor, but deep inside he knew the truth, confused him and did not like being confused. The first week brought endurance training. All students had to run laps around the training grounds until they could run no more. The course was 5 kilometers long, and most species could manage 3 or 4 laps before their bodies demanded rest. They were powerful but heavy. They lasted 6 laps before collapsing, their huge chests heaving as they gasped for air. They were graceful but fragile. They managed 4 laps before their thin legs gave out. The built for short bursts of speed barely finished 3. Ran. She was not fast. They passed her easily in the first lap. They stayed ahead of her for 2 laps, but as the others fell, continued. Her pace never changed. Her feet struck the ground in the same steady rhythm over and over. 6 laps, 7, 8. Stood at the edge of the course, his yellow eyes following the small figure. Sweat soaked her clothes. Her face was red with effort, but her legs kept moving. 10 laps, 11. The other students resting on the ground began to watch her. The named pushed himself up on one elbow. "What is she doing?" he asked. His voice was rough with exhaustion. Did not answer, he did not know. 12 laps, 13. Finally stepped onto the course and held up his hand. "Enough," he called out. "The test is complete." Slowed to a stop in front of him. She was breathing hard, but she was still standing, still alert. She looked at him with those calm, dark eyes and asked, "Did I do something wrong, instructor?" Stared at her. "You ran 13 laps. The record for this course is 9, set by a Special Forces soldier." Blinked, she seemed genuinely confused. "I could have kept going. Was I supposed to stop earlier?" That night, searched the Galactic database for information on humans. What he found made him sit very still for a long time. Humans were pursuit predators. On their home planet, they had hunted by chasing their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They could not run fast, but they could run far. Their bodies were designed to cool themselves while moving. They could sweat, releasing heat through their skin while other creatures had to stop and pant. Their ancestors had chased animals for days, until the prey simply fell over and died from exhaustion. Closed the database. His 4 hands were shaking slightly. The second week brought sparring matches. Lost her first fight against a. She lost quickly, thrown across the mat like a child's toy. She lost her second fight against N, who predicted her moves with telepathy and countered every strike. But noticed something. After each loss, did not complain, she did not make excuses. She sat quietly and watched the other fights. Her eyes tracked every movement, every technique. She was studying. By the end of the week, she began winning. She could not match the strength of those, so she learned to redirect their power. When charged at her, she stepped aside and used his own momentum to send him crashing to the ground. She could not block this telepathy, so she learned to make her movements random, chaotic, impossible to predict. She fought without thinking, acting on instinct so fast that even mind readers could not keep up. After her fifth victory in a row approached her outside the training hall. He was angry. His pride was hurt. Among the losing to a smaller creature was a great shame. "Fight me," he growled. "A real fight, no rules, no instructors watching." Looked up at him. He was 3 times her size. His fists could crush her skull with one blow. "I do not want to fight you," she said quietly. "We are classmates." Coward spat. His expression did not change. "No, I just do not want to hurt you." Laughed. The sound echoed through the hallway. "Hurt me? You?" He stepped closer, towering over her. "Fight me, human, or I will make sure everyone knows you are nothing but a weak little prey animal." Was silent for a long moment, then she sighed. "Okay." Heard about the fight later. A student had witnessed it and reported to him. It lasted 4 seconds. Had charged just as he always did. Had moved in a blur, faster than anyone thought possible. She struck his elbow at exactly the right angle, dislocating his shoulder. Before he could scream, she swept his legs out from under him and put him on the ground. Then she knelt beside him and carefully held his arm steady so he would not injure himself further. "I am sorry," she had said. "Please let me help you to the medical bay." When found in the medical bay, the would not meet his eyes. His shoulder had been repaired, but something else was broken. His certainty, his understanding of how the universe worked. "She apologized," whispered. "She broke me in 4 seconds and then she apologized." Stood in the medical bay for a long time after fell asleep. He thought about pursuit predators. He thought about creatures who could run forever. He thought about a species that could break you and then feel sorry about it. He was beginning to understand. Humans were not weak. They were something else entirely, something the galaxy had never seen before. And for the first time in 200 years, felt something close to fear. Could not sleep. He lay in his quarters, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing with thoughts he could not control. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her running endless laps without stopping. He saw her break in 4 seconds. He saw her calm, dark eyes that seemed to hold something vast and terrible beneath their peaceful surface. He needed answers. The academy archives were quiet at night. Walked through the empty halls until he reached the research terminals. He sat down and began searching. He searched for hours. What he found changed everything he thought he knew about the universe. Humans were not just pursuit predators. They were survivors of a death world. Earth was a planet of chaos. The weather shifted without warning. Floods, earthquakes, storms of fire, mountains that exploded with molten rock. The planet was covered with predators, creatures with claws and teeth and venom, creatures that hunted in packs, creatures that could kill with a single bite. And humans had not just survived there. They had conquered it. They had hunted the predators. They had built cities in the harshest places. They had spread across every corner of their violent world. But that was not what frightened. He found records of human wars. Humans did not just fight other species. They fought each other. They had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They had developed weapons of terrible power, bombs that could destroy entire cities in a flash of light, poisons that could kill millions. They had built these weapons before they even left their own planet. Read about human soldiers who strapped explosives to their own bodies and walked into enemy positions. He read about humans who fought in frozen wastelands where the cold alone should have killed them. He read about humans who kept fighting even after losing arms, legs, eyes. They did not stop. They never stopped. And yet, the same species that created such horror also created beauty, music that could make other species weep, art that captured the deepest emotions, stories that touched something universal in every thinking mind. Humans adopted the children of other species. They formed bonds with creatures that were not their own kind. They would die for strangers. They would sacrifice everything for people they had never met. How could one species contain such opposites? How could they be both monsters and angels? Needed to talk to someone. He needed someone who could make sense of this. He found Administrator in her office the next morning. She was tall and graceful, with silver skin that shimmered in the light. Her telepathic abilities were stronger than any other at the academy. "You have been researching the human," said before could speak. She smiled gently. "I felt your confusion from across the station." Sat down heavily. His 4 arms hung loose at his sides. "I do not understand them. I have trained warriors for 200 years. I have never encountered anything like this species." Was quiet for a moment. Her silver eyes looked distant, as if she was remembering something. "I have touched her mind," she said softly. Leaned forward and, "Her mind is structured unlike anything I have ever felt." His voice was careful, measured. "On the surface there is calm, true calm, not a mask. She is genuinely peaceful. She does not wish to hurt anyone. She feels compassion, kindness, even love for creatures she has just met." But asked, he could hear the fear in his own voice. "Beneath the calm there is something else." Silver skin flickered. "It is vast. It is hungry. It is a fire that could consume worlds. She keeps it locked away, buried so deep that she barely knows it is there. But it is always present, always waiting." Felt cold. "What is it?" "I do not know the human word for it," said, "but I believe it is what allows them to do impossible things. It is what makes them run until their bodies should fail. It is what makes them fight enemies they cannot possibly defeat. It is what makes them sacrifice themselves for others." She paused. "And it is what makes them terrifying." That evening found in the training hall. She was practicing alone, moving through combat forms with smooth precision. When she saw him, she stopped and bowed. "Instructor, is something wrong?" Studied her, she looked so ordinary, so small, so harmless, but now he knew what lay beneath. "May I ask you a question?" he said. "Of course." "What are humans afraid of?" Tilted her head. She thought about the question carefully, had noticed that about her. She always thought before she spoke. She never gave careless answers. "Pain does not scare us," she said slowly. "We have lived with pain since we first existed. Death does not scare us, not really. We know it comes for everyone." She paused. "Failure does not scare us either. We fail all the time. We just get up and try again." "Then what?" asked. "What does your species fear?" His eyes met his. For a moment he saw something flicker in their depths, something old and deep and powerful. "Losing the people we love," she said quietly. "That is the only thing that truly scares us. Losing the people we care about, being unable to protect them." Her voice dropped even lower. "We would burn the universe down to save the ones we love. And that is why we are dangerous, Instructor. Not because we are strong, but because we care too much." Stood in the training hall long after left. He thought about a species that would burn the universe for love. He thought about creatures who feared nothing except loss. He thought about the fire that had sensed beneath its calm surface. The galaxy had no idea what it had found on that small blue planet. No idea at all. And was not sure if he should be grateful or terrified. The final evaluation came without warning. One morning, alarms filled the academy. Students rushed to the main hall where waited with his arms crossed and his face serious. "Today is your final test," he announced. His voice echoed through the hall. "A simulated planetary assault. You will work in teams to capture an enemy command center. The defenses are automated. They are designed by the best military minds in the galaxy. No team has ever completed this simulation without casualties." The students shifted nervously. Even the looked uncertain. "Team assignments are on your devices," continued. "You have 1 hour to prepare. Good luck." Checked her device. Her team was a mix of species. 2 including whose shoulder had healed but whose pride had not. 1 named who still looked at with doubt. 1 soldier named, young and eager but inexperienced. And 1 called, whose fur was always standing on end with nervous energy. They gathered in a preparation room. No one spoke at first, then broke the silence. So the human leads us. His voice was flat. The smallest and weakest among us commands our team. Did not react to the insult. I do not need to be the leader, she said calmly. Anyone can lead. I just want us all to survive. Pretty words, said. The silver skin flickered with doubt. But words do not win battles. Looked at each of them. Her dark eyes moved from face to face. You are right, she said. Words do not win battles, but neither does fighting alone. We are a team. We succeed together or we fail together, so let us work together. The simulation began. The team dropped onto a virtual planet's surface. The command center sat at the top of a hill, surrounded by walls, towers, and automated turrets. The defenses were brutal. Plasma cannons that could cut through armor, energy shields that blocked most attacks, drones that hunted any movement. They moved carefully through the terrain, had studied the map during the preparation hour. She had memorized every rock, every building, every possible hiding spot. She guided them through the safest paths. But war is never safe. A plasma bolt caught in the chest. The young fell, his simulation suit marking him as a casualty. He would feel the pain, but he would live. Still, he was out of the fight. Panicked, he ran and a turret tracked his movement. Another bolt, another casualty. Now they were 4, 2, 1 human, and the command center was still far away. We cannot do this, whispered. That was pressed against a rock, trembling. The defenses are too strong. Was quiet for a moment. Then something changed in her. Watching from the observation room, saw it happen. Her shoulders straightened. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes, which had always been calm, became something else. Something cold and focused and absolutely certain. Listen to me, she said. Her voice was different now, still quiet but carrying an edge that cut through the fear. We are going to take that command center. We are going to do it together, and we are all going to survive. Do you understand? The others stared at her. Even, who had challenged her weeks ago, found himself nodding. Good, pointed to specific positions on the terrain. You will provide covering fire from that ridge. Draw the turret's attention. Use your telepathy to sense the drone movements and warn us. You are our shield. Can you do this? Nodded slowly. I can. I will move through the center, continued. I will draw fire. I will keep moving. I will not stop until I reach the wall. That is suicide, said. Smiled. It was a strange smile, small and sad but also fierce. No, that is what humans do. We keep moving. We do not stop, trust me. They moved and reached the ridge and began firing. Plasma bolts flew toward them, but they were ready. They ducked, dodged, returned fire. The turrets focused on them. Ran. She sprinted across open ground, a tiny figure against the massive defenses. A turret swung toward her. She changed direction before it could fire. A drone dropped from the sky. She rolled beneath it and kept running. A plasma bolt grazed her shoulder. The simulation suit registered the hit, sending pain through her body. She did not slow down. Watched from the observation room. His 4 hands gripped the console. He had never seen anything like this. The human moved like water flowing around obstacles, never stopping, never hesitating. She took another hit to her leg. Still she ran. Another hit to her arm. Still she ran. She reached the wall. Her body was marked with multiple injuries. Any other species would have collapsed, but found a gap in the defenses, a small crack that the designers had not meant to be exploitable. She slipped through. Inside the walls, she was alone. More turrets, more drones, but she was already moving, already fighting. She used the environment, pulling defenses down on each other, making the automated systems target themselves. 5 minutes later, she reached the command center. She touched the control panel. The simulation ended. In the observation room, sat in silence. The other instructors were stunned. No team had ever completed the simulation with only one final casualty. No team had ever had a single member penetrate the defenses alone. The simulation data showed that had taken 7 direct hits during her run, 7 hits that would have stopped any other species. She had kept fighting for 20 minutes after the first injury. When she finally allowed the medical team to treat her, she was still standing, still alert, still calm. Looked at the data again and again. He did not know whether to celebrate or to fear what he had witnessed. Humanity had shown the galaxy what it meant to never give up, and the galaxy would never forget. The graduation ceremony filled the Academy's grand hall with beings from across the galaxy. Diplomats from a dozen worlds sat in the viewing platforms. Military commanders watched with sharp eyes. Scientists and scholars had traveled great distances just to be present. They had all heard the stories. They had all come to see the human. Stood among her fellow graduates. She wore a simple uniform, the same color she had worn on her first day. Her black hair was pulled back from her face. She looked small among the massive and the tall. She looked ordinary, but everyone in the hall knew better now. Stood at the front of the hall, ready to present the diplomas. He had done this ceremony many times over his 200 years. He had handed out honors to legendary warriors, decorated heroes, brilliant tacticians. But today felt different. Today, history was being made. He called the names one by one. The graduates stepped forward to receive their honors. The followed. Each one bowed and accepted their diploma with pride. Then called the final name, of Earth. The hall fell silent. Walked forward. Her steps were quiet on the polished floor. She stopped in front of and bowed just as she had on her first day. When she rose, her dark eyes met his yellow ones. Looked at her for a long moment. Then he spoke, not just to her but to everyone in the hall. I have trained warriors for 200 years, he began. His voice was strong and clear. I have seen the greatest fighters the galaxy has to offer. I have watched empires rise and fall. I thought I understood what makes a great warrior: strength, speed, natural weapons, power that can break enemies with a single blow. He paused. The hall was completely silent. I was wrong. Lifted the diploma in his 4 hands. This human taught me something I had forgotten. The greatest weapon is not strength. It is not speed. It is not claws or teeth or armor. He looked directly at. The greatest weapon is the will to endure, the ability to rise after every fall, the courage to fight not because victory is certain but because surrender is unthinkable. He handed her the diploma. You have graduated at the top of your class, the first human to attend this academy, the first of your species to earn this honor, but more than that, you have shown us what humanity truly is. Accepted the diploma, she bowed again. Thank you, Instructor, you taught me more than you know. The hall erupted in applause, not just polite clapping, but genuine, thunderous approval. Even the commanders, who rarely showed emotion, were pounding their fists against their chests in salute. They allowed their telepathic admiration to flow through the room. For a moment, every being in the hall was united in respect for the small human standing before them. Later, after the ceremony ended and the crowds departed, found standing alone at a window. She was looking out at the stars. Her reflection in the glass showed a tired face, but also a peaceful one. May I join you? Asked. Nodded without turning around. Of course, Instructor. Stood beside her. For a while, neither spoke. They simply watched the stars together, the endless points of light scattered across the darkness. What will you do now? Finally asked. Smiled. It was a gentle smile, warm and genuine. Go home, she said. See my family. My mother makes the best food in the world. I have missed it. She laughed softly. I have missed a lot of things. And after that? Smile faded slightly. She looked at the stars with eyes that suddenly seemed very old. I will rest. I will enjoy peace. I will hold the people I love and remember why everything matters. She turned to face. But if the galaxy needs us, we will be ready. My people have always been ready. We fought our way out of the darkness on our own world. We survived everything our planet threw at us. And we did not do it alone. We did it together, families, friends, strangers who became brothers and sisters. She looked back at the stars. Humans are not special because we are strong. We are not special because we are fast or smart or powerful. We are special because we refuse to give up on each other, on ourselves, on anything that matters. Nodded slowly. He understood now. He finally understood. The galaxy has changed, he said quietly. Humanity has awakened something. I do not know if it is hope or fear or something else entirely, but nothing will be the same. Reached out and touched his arm. It was a small gesture, but it carried warmth. Then let us make sure the change is good. Let us build something worth protecting, together. Watched her walk away. She moved through the empty halls of the academy, a small figure against the vast architecture. She looked so ordinary, so fragile, so human. But he knew the truth now. Beneath that ordinary surface was something extraordinary, a fire that would never stop burning, a will that would never break, a heart that would fight for love until the end of everything. The galaxy had found humanity, and humanity had found its place among the stars. Turned back to the window, the stars seemed brighter now. The darkness seemed smaller. For the first time in 200 years, he felt something he had thought was lost forever. Hope. The story of humanity in the galaxy was just beginning, and knew, deep in his ancient heart, that it would be a story worth watching. He smiled and walked away into the light.